Welcome to Ruby on Rails, a webinar series from jpassion.com. Today's topic is ActionView, and we are going to focus on layout and partials. All right, so let's start with the presentation first. So we're going to cover the concept of templates a bit. You have exposure to templates already, so it's nothing new. And then we're going to focus on mostly on layout and partials. In partials, we're going to talk about how we can pass local variables and also rendering collections. So let's talk about the templates a bit. So ActionView system of Rails contains default templating system called ERB, and that's pretty much what we have used so far, except last week we have used another alternative templating system called Hamal, and it's gaining a lot of popularity. And as we have learned last week, in order to use Hamal as a templating system of the application, you have to add Hamal Rails gem file, and then you have to bundle install, and then you're all set to go. Now, we have seen examples of templates mostly in the form of ERB and last week Hamal file, and this template file naming convention goes like this. It comes with, it starts with a name, and then locale. Locale is typically optional, then content type, and then templating system. So the examples that we have seen before, example templates or example views, I'm using these two terms, templates and views, interchangeably. They are the same thing. So in this case, index.html.erb, that name includes, this is the name, and then this is the content type, HTML, and ERB is the templating system. Again, ERB is the default templating engine or default templating system. If you're using Hamal, then templating engine, Hamal, will be used at the end. Okay, so this is the template naming convention. Now, how ERB is triggered, that templating system is triggered, is basically you are going to use this notation, percent and equal sign. And basically, if you're using this percent sign, the Ruby code inside this block will be evaluated. And if you're using this equal sign after percent sign, then this evaluated Ruby code is evaluated, and output of that evaluated Ruby code is going to be inserted. So this is an example. So we have this percent sign, and then we have a percent equal sign here. So this code, there's nothing to output here, so you're going to use a percent sign here. But this is the case that you want to display the output of the evaluation of this Ruby code. In this case, person name. So you're going to use a percent and equal sign here. All right, so let's move on to layout. The concept of layout is nothing really new. In pretty much every web application framework, they have a concept of layout. Sometimes they call it as a templating system. Okay, so that this templating or layout is used to provide a common look and feel for all the pages of that application. For example, common header and footer, common style sheet, or common JavaScript libraries. So all the pages are going to inherit these properties from that common layout file. So within the layout file in Rails, you have three different tools for combining different bits of output from to form overall response. So that includes asset tags. Okay, so this asset tags include, for example, style sheet and JavaScript libraries. And you're going to use yield in your layout file, and then you're going to use a content for in the view file. And this allows you to specify what is called the regional yielding, and you're going to look into examples of this in a bit more detail. So if you don't understand what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Then partials, you can use partials in layout as well as in views as well. The layout scope, you can have application scope layout file. That means that layout file will be used for all the pages of that application, or you can have a layout file for controller scope. So you can use a particular layout for all the views that belong to a particular controller. All right, so asset tech helpers basically provide methods. So these are the set of methods that you can use for generating HTML that link views to feeds, JavaScript, style sheets. So auto discovery link is RSS and Atom feed, and this is for JavaScript, and this is for style sheet. And then you can have image, audio, and video text like this. Typically, this auto discovery link and JavaScript include a style sheet because a common set of these things are being used pretty much for application scope. Typically, you're going to have these tags in the root layout, okay, in the header section of the root layout, meaning application scope layout. So this is an example of application scope layout. So when you create Rails application, Rails framework will create this root layout or top level layout called the application.html.erb file on the layouts directory on the views. So here it contains a style sheet tag and JavaScript tag and the CSRF, the cross-site scripting, the forge, the attack here. And then it has what is called the yield. Like here. So yield means it identifies a section where the content from the view should be inserted. So this is the area you want the contents from the view file to be inserted into this layout file. So regioning yield is also possible. So we have this layout file here, and then we have a view file that use the layout, and then this is a generated HTML file. Okay, so basically instead of actually have just one single region here, so basically everything from the view will be inserted here. But what you want to do is you might want in fact have a different fragment to be inserted in different part of the layout. By here, so what you can specify is yield and title. So what it means is that I want to insert only the title region from the view in here. So in this view file, the title region is specified using content for. So here, only this part will be inserted here. Okay, and the yield is basically rest of it. And this is content for footer, so this will be inserted into layout file, into layout region where it is specified. Because we don't have any yield colon footer, this is not being used. Okay, so in this case, the generate HTML file is going to be something like this. So between the head here, we are going to take the contents of a title region from the view file. So that's what is inserted here. And then we have a yield. So rest of that view file, in this case, just this will be inserted inside the body. Layout usage conventions. As I said before, a layout could be application scope or controller scope. So the convention is that a root layout will be used as a default. So it's going to be used for all pages of that application. However, if you happen to have a layout that matches the name of the controller, then that will be used instead of this top level layout file. Or in your controller code, you can use a layout method to specify which layout file that you want to use. You can also use a particular layout for actions. So the layout could be used for action scope. So this is an example where you are going to use different layout file for controller scope. Okay, so in this case, I want to use my one layout file for this controller. Okay, so if you don't have this one, and if there is actually the controller, so in this case it's index controller. So if you have an index.html.erb file on the layouts directory, then that will be used as a default. However, if you specify layout method like this, then this layout file will be used for this controller, meaning all the views that belong to this controller will use this my layout one layout file. Now, if you want to use a particular layout file for a particular method, or meaning particular action, in this case index action, you can specify render and then layout, and this is the layout file. All right, so let's do our first exercise, exercise 1. So exercise 1, we are going to play around with the layout file. So we're going to actually create a brand new application called Rails new ActionView underscore app. Okay, so I have already done that. Okay, and then you're going to cd to that directory, which I have done already. And now we're going to actually perform some scaffolding. So we're going to actually create some code using scaffolding. So we are going to create a scaffolding on student model class. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this code. And the student model has a name attribute and age attribute. And then we're going to perform migration to create the students table file. By the way, I'm using right now the latest version of Rails, and you might in fact actually see the security warning, the no secret option provided for rack session and things like that. This is benign, so don't worry about it. Okay, so it is in fact the bugs. It's one of the bugs introduced in the latest version of in Rails, unfortunately, but it's benign. All right, so then I'm gonna try. I'm gonna actually create the students table by rake db migrate. So students table should be created, and then I'm going to add these 3 lines of code to create student record. So we're going to create a student 1 and student 2 and student 3 with these different ages. Okay, so I'm going to change seed file here. So I'm going to just copy these 3 lines of code. Okay, and we save it. And we are going to perform db seed, rake db seed to create this record. So rake db seed. And then we're going to start the server. Okay, so the records are created. So we are going to start Rails server. And then we are going to go to localhost 3000. And we are going to use student. Okay, so this is what you see. Okay, so what we want to do now is, for now you can actually see the student detailed information by clicking snow. Okay, so what you want to do is we want to change. Let me just make sure that I got the latest file. Yeah, so I just added to the documentation. So we're going to actually change the root level layout file, which is located on the app views layout application.html.erb file. Okay, and we're going to just add this line. Okay, so I'm going to go. So the layout file, this is the file. Okay, so we are going to just copy this simple h3 header here. Okay, and we save the change, and then we are going to, let me just close this guy, and we are going to refresh the page, and you are seeing this h3 tag we have just added. So if you actually click any of the other pages, you are going to see the common the message. Okay, anything edit? Yeah, so this is from the top level layout file. Okay, so very simple change. And that we just did refresh the page. Okay, now 1.3 exercise. Now we're going to actually use regions. So here we are going to change the top level layout file to specify 3 different regions. So we still have this yield. Okay, but we want to add title region and header region and footer region. So it's possible that different views provided different values for this regional these regions. Okay, so let's change. We're going to just add this title region to here. So instead of this, we're going to just use regional data, and then we're going to add header, and then we're going to add footer. So this regional data should be provided from the view file. Okay, so we're going to just change index.html.erb file, which is a view file, and here we're going to specify the values fragment of those regions. So here we are providing title region values, which is this, and we are providing here a header region with h1 tag, and your footer is a copyright like this. Okay. All right, so you can change other template file, but here we're gonna just change index.html.erb file only. So here we go to students, and we're gonna just change index, and we're gonna just copy this. So content for is used. Yeah, so instead of students, we are gonna just change. Okay, so we provided fragments for different regions for title, header, and footer. So we save the change. Okay, and then we are going to refresh the page. Oops, not this one. Here we go. So we are going to go back, and we're going to refresh the page. And you can see we have a different region. So this is my header, and this is the copyright, my footer. Okay, and so yeah, so those actually from the different regions. Okay, so my title, and the title is you can see the title is my title here. Okay, so my title, and this is from the header region, and this is from the footer region. All right, so that is a region. Okay, so that's what we have done. Now, wonderful, we are going to use this time controller scope layout by actually, explicitly specifying a particular layout file. So here we're going to create my layout.html.erb file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this file. Okay, and I'm going to name it as my layout1. My layout1. Okay, and we're gonna just change this one. This is my layout1. Okay, and save the change. Okay, and then we are going to change our controller code, student controller code, by indicating that we want to use this my layout1 file. Okay, as a layout file. So we're gonna go to controller code. We put the controller and student controller, and we're gonna just say layout, my layout1. Okay. Usually it's a better practice to use this notation instead of the string like this. Okay, and save the change. Okay, and then we're gonna refresh the browser. Oops. Let's see, undefined local variable my layout1. I'm not sure whether this is the issue. Let me just try this one. My layout1. Okay. Save the change and refresh. Oh, okay. So it looks like I cannot use the symbolic notation. That's interesting. Yeah, it depends on how this is actually, this method is actually being implemented. Okay. In general, any place that you are using literal notation, string notation, you should be able to use the symbolic, but it depends on how this layout is implemented. Okay, so that is basically indicating that now I'm using my layout1 layout file. All right, so now the next change is now we're going to use the action scope layout, meaning we are going to have a particular action to use a particular layout file instead of the controller layout file or application layout file. So we're going to actually create another layout file called my layout2.